welcome to part 3 of the new moon in Sidereal Pisces guided intention setting. What we're going to be doing here in part 3 is taking a closer look at the Pisces archetype and themes. And I will go over some prompts that you can use for setting your intentions just for inspiration. But then, of course, if you have some other prompt that you're already working with to set your intentions with tonight, that is perfectly fine to use. So what we'll do is we'll go through the themes and the archetypes, we'll go through the prompts, and then we'll take some time to write out what our intentions are, and then hopefully we can come back and everyone can share in the comments what intention they're setting with tomorrow's new moon. So the Pisces archetype, Pisces themes. Pisces is mutable water, right? This is very kind of nebulous and ephemeral kind of energy. It's very emotional energy. It's very spiritual energy. Okay, Pisces is symbolized by the fishes, right? The two fishes, and it falls into the 12th house of the natural zodiac. It's ruled by Neptune, by the modern rulerships, and by Jupiter by the traditional rulerships. It represents endings. It represents hidden things like the unconscious mind. We talked about that. And our beliefs, especially the unconscious ones. We talked about that too. The 12th house and Pisces represent institutions of seclusion like hospitals, prisons, nursing homes, etc., but especially so things like convents and monasteries, places where you withdraw from the world for the spiritual path, right? And so those fishes, it's the most spiritual really of all the signs. Pisces is the archetype of the martyr, the mystic, the dreamer, the spiritual leader. So think Jesus being represented by the fishes, right? But Pisces also can represent the delusional one, the one who has kind of lost his mind, who's had a break from reality, right? Pisces is perhaps the most inspirational of all the signs. It has domain over dreams, over fantasy, healing, compassion, karma, mystery, but also inspiration, right? Which means to breathe life into or breathe spirit into. Pisces has to do with unity, has to do with pacifism and dreaminess and escapism, but also decay and decadence. Pisces is about service of the spirit, selfless service, and self-sacrifice, or like I said earlier, martyrdom. But it also can relate to addiction and denial of reality. Remember that it's opposite Virgo, which is the sign of reality. It's the final sign of the zodiac. And so in that sense, Pisces represents the completion of the circle, the end of the cycle, and the return to the earth of the clay of the flesh, of the body, right? So that it can be reborn into new life in Aries, which represents the newborn. Now this happens on a physical way, ashes to ashes, dust to dust with the body when we die, but also on a spiritual way. The soul leaves the body and then re-enters the experience of reality, of material reality, in a new body, in a new incarnation. So in that sense, Pisces is always seeking a return to source. Okay? So Pisces and Neptune in the birth chart can show where we are capable of self-sacrifice, but it also shows where we're most capable of deception, including self-deception, and where we're most capable of allowing ourselves to be deceived, where we maybe don't see things quite so clearly. And it can also point to where we struggle with finding clarity, okay, or finding direction. Pisces is also the sign of faith, and that's like faith in the unknowable, in the unprovable. Opposite Virgo again, like we were talking, which is the sign of our day-to-day tangible, physical, material reality, okay? So knowing those things, what I would like you to can kind of consider, Pisces is also, this is really also about forgiveness, about confession, about starting over with a clean slate in some sense. And so with our prompts for the new moon, I'm going to go through these, and I just kind of want you to keep those things in the back of your mind while you're considering the prompts and deciding what it is you want to set intentions around. So here's our first one, diving in. Do you have a need or a desire for healing a spiritual, unconscious, or highly intimate personal wound? If that's the case, what I want you to consider is, what does a healthy outcome look like for you? And what would be the first step towards healing that you could take? And I want to kind of drop a little hint for you here. Sometimes it's as simple as allowing yourself to be open to the possibility of healing. So say you do carry some sort of wound, like we talked about, and you are wanting to heal it, but you're still caught in the energy of woundedness, maybe the energy of grief, the energy of hurt or resentment at whoever did hurt you, if it was a wound caused by another person. And maybe you're not ready to forgive. But what you can do with this new moon is just communicate to the universe that you're willing to move into a space of forgiveness, to discover what forgiveness can look like for you. Even if you're not ready to forgive, if you can be open and willing to the possibility of forgiveness, if you can invite forgiveness into your heart, and just kind of be very like loose and gentle with that invitation, with no expectation on it, with no attachment to the outcome. Oftentimes, the impetus for releasing whatever it is you're holding on to, whatever woundedness and hurt you're still holding, can find its way into your life quite magically and mystically. And so if you're not ready to forgive something, but you would like to move into that space and you just don't know how to forgive, just set an intention to be open to forgiveness and let the universe fill in that blank for you. Okay, next prompt. Are you hiding or escaping from something in your life? And if so, from what? How can you begin showing up? And what's the first step in showing up? What is something that you can do in the next couple of days that would help you come back into the fold, to stop hiding or stop escaping? Even though most of us are very sequestered in our homes because of the current situation around the globe, we're all very isolated right now, you can still show up in the world because we have all this magnificent technology. We're all interconnected by the World Wide Web. And so you still have a way to show up. There are still tools that you can use in your toolbox, even if you can't go out and mingle with people. And so I would encourage you, if that's you, if you're hiding or escaping from something, consider that there are ways that you can begin showing up if you are ready to move into that energy. Okay? And this would be a really powerful time with that Jupiter-Pluto conjunction coming up to really do that. Next prompt. In what way can you be of selfless service to your fellow man? Now, I think this is a big one, given the situation that we're in. How can you show up with unconditional love? How can you hold space for the worst of us? Right? This is about ministry, not preaching. And what is ministry? Ministry is washing the feet, right? It's not preaching. It's not proselytizing. It's washing the feet of the lowest among us, right? Next prompt. What can you begin to incorporate into your life to allow for greater self-care? Things like rest, things like relaxation, like reflection, meditation, spiritual development. What do you do to wash your own feet? And what I mean by that is, what do you do to care for the least considered and yet most worked part of you, right? We don't appreciate our feet very much, do we? But they bear our entire load all day long. And we hardly ever think about what they're doing for us, for the whole rest of the body. And we hardly ever take care of them in the way that they deserve to be taken care of for that effort, right? So, How do you care for the least considered and most worked part of you? How do you wash your own feet? What will bring you reprieve? Okay. What do you need to sacrifice in order to follow your dreams? This would be a great one for you Taurus folks out there. Are you prepared to make that sacrifice? And if so, how can you make it meaningful? And I want to add to that, is it maybe your comfort that you need to sacrifice? Right? Do you need to get out of your comfort zone in order to follow your dreams? And if so, are you willing to take the first step to do that? And then I would also like to inquire, how can you turn over a new leaf or invite a new result into your life? Where is it that you do need to start with a clean slate? How can you breathe new life into the part of your life where you find Pisces in your sidereal natal chart? How do you find inspiration? Where do you find inspiration? What new belief would you like to cultivate in your unconscious mind? We talked about that one. So I want you to take a moment to think about what new initiation, journey, goal, what that is for you, and what the ideal outcome is that you want to manifest into your life or your experience around it, related to the house that this new moon falls into for you. Write it out on a piece of paper along with all the details that you can think of. I want you to be as specific as possible. And I recommend setting intentions around outcomes which are for the highest good of all involved. And I know that sounds a little nebulous, but what that does is allow room for both free will and synchronicity to operate. Okay? And it also reinforces that our intention is pure, and it cultivates humility about presuming that we know what's best for other people. Okay? And then you can also write out an affirmation around what it is you'd like to initiate now, or a simple and easy to believe reinforcement of the new belief that you'd like to cultivate. And then when you're done, I'd invite you to share in the comments. And so what I'm going to do real quick is just recap these prompts. You can get started writing if you already know what you want to work on. But I'm going to recap the prompts real quick for anyone who might have joined us late or just wants a recap. And then we will dive right into writing our intention. And I'm going to take a moment, folks, and silence my phone. I'm almost always broadcasting from my phone. And so I have it on Do Not Disturb when I'm live streaming from my phone. And I wasn't thinking because this is all brand new. Okay, so the prompts while I recap. Do you have a need or desire for healing a spiritual, unconscious, or highly intimate personal wound? What does a healthy outcome look like for you? And what's the first step towards healing that you can take? And is it simple as allowing yourself to be open to the possibility of healing or the possibility of forgiveness? Are you hiding or escaping from something in your life? If you are, from what? How can you begin showing up, and what's the first step? And make it something that you can do in the next couple of days. In what way can you be of selfless service with your fellow man? How can you show up in unconditional love? And how can you hold space for the worst of us? I think this is an interesting thing to do right now because there seems to be a lot of judgment in the world right now as it regards to other people's behavior, right? And so I think that really gets into holding space for the worst of us, right? In some senses. What can you do to begin to incorporate into your life? What can you begin to incorporate into your life to allow for greater self-care, such as rest or relaxation, reflection, meditation, spiritual development? What do you do to wash your own feet? What brings you reprieve? And then what do you need to sacrifice in order to follow your dreams? Are you prepared to make that sacrifice? And if so, how can you make it meaningful? How can you turn over a new leaf and invite a new result? Where do you need to start with a clean slate? And how can you breathe new life into this area of life? Where do you find inspiration? What new belief would you like to most cultivate in your unconscious mind? Take a moment to think about what that new initiation might be, that new goal, that new journey. What is the ideal outcome that you want to manifest around it, especially as it relates to the house this new moon falls into for you. Okay? So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and read to you what it says on the next page. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Of the moon gazing journal, which I always read to you out of when we do the new moons, because this is what I write my intentions in. And what it says right here is that the Chinese believed that eclipses were caused by hungry dragons, right? Rahu and Ketu. That's a Vedic thing, but it's kind of a similar idea. The eclipses were caused by hungry dragons that ate the sun, and people would bang on pans and shoot arrows into the sky to scare them away. How about that? Alrighty. So everyone, go ahead and take a few minutes to write down your intention, to outline it, to solidify it, to give it life and detail, and then when we're all done, we'll come back and we will share the intentions that we're setting. Okay? All right. If you need more time, let me know. I think I'm finished with mine. This is kind of fun. I have Gemini rising. So my new moon is in the 10th house, which is kind of interesting given that Gemini is the communicator, right? And I recently invested in some new equipment for doing the live broadcasting so that I could change the way that I was doing the live broadcasting so that I could do this simulcasting and live stream to more places at once. But also to be able to offer you kind of a better quality of broadcast as well. And to also be able to use this equipment in other ways rather than just live broadcasting. For instance, I have some guided meditations and things that I have developed for myself that I would love to record and offer to you as tools that you can use in your toolbox as well. And so being able to upgrade this equipment is going to provide a wonderful opportunity to be able to do that for you. And so I'm really kind of excited that it's a 10th house new moon, and yet here we are doing Gemini things with it, right? And so here's what I wrote, because it kind of has to do with this new equipment and some of the changes that I'm making to the website, things that I'm doing, revamping the content that I offer. I have been sitting down and hashing out a whole new plan for what kind of content to offer you on the website on an ongoing basis going forward. I haven't been as regular at providing content on the website in the last several months, really for kind of a number of reasons. Some of it has been just logistical, like tech issue stuff. Some of it has just been the major life changes that I've been going through. I know many of you know that I got divorced last year, and so I'm still kind of adjusting to that. I really haven't quite settled into this new life just yet. But also, I think it's time to shift gears in what I do and how I offer in a way that can serve more of you and serve you better. And so that's really the intention that I'm wanting to set this time around. So what I wrote here is that it's my intention to use this period of self-isolation to breathe new life into my work as an astrologer and to find new ways to serve through astrology so that I may reach as many people as need such service in uncertain and troubling times. I wrote that it's my intention to find newer, more effective ways to do this, which allow me to serve more people, to serve you better, and to serve longer in ways which provide guidance and hope and healing and respite to those who need it. And it's my intention to bring as much of myself to the table as I genuinely am able to. Also, and I didn't write this down, It's my intention to give myself a damn pedicure. I'm going to do that. This seems like the perfect new moon to take care of these little tootsies, right? So that's what I'm going to do. How about you, Danielle? If you want to share your intention, or anyone else who's on, I'm going to check on the other stream and see if it rebooted or not. I don't think it did. No, I still have the playback here. So, well, or it says I'm live, actually. So maybe it's just that I can't see the playback on my end. Maybe we really are on YouTube. There are not any questions or comments in the chat on YouTube, which is fine. I'm sure they'll come later. And in the meantime, we can do our questions and comments here on Facebook. But for those of you who are setting intentions tonight, I would love to hear what intentions you're setting in the comments. Even if you're watching the replay, feel free to share the intention that you're setting in the comments on the replay. And the reason partly that I encourage you to do that is because sometimes during the new moon and the full moon guided practices, sometimes what we do, if we're willing to share it, can provide great inspiration to other people related to what they're going through. And sometimes I think that can be really, really valuable as we share that kind of stuff. And so I would encourage you, whether you're watching live or watching the replay, go ahead and share in the comments, because we all benefit when we can do that. And I don't have a whole lot in terms of announcements for you this evening in that regard. I want to remind you to please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. And if you click the notification bell and activate notifications, you'll be notified every time I upload a broadcast. And I know I haven't been regular about sending out emails lately. I promise this year I'm going to get back on track with that. As a matter of fact, this week, I'm going to get some of those reminder emails scheduled so that you get notified ahead of time when the Sidereal Insights Astro update is going to happen, and when one of the guided practices for the lunar practices that we do is going to happen. If you've signed up for those mailing lists, I haven't been as regular about sending them lately, and I'm going to get the reminders at least scheduled, and that way all that I have to do for the remainder of the year is just send you the link to the replay once the replay is up. And that makes it so much easier, because then you're just going to get your reminder that it's going without having to worry about it. I would invite you to follow me on Facebook. You can follow Mystick Physick on Facebook. I would also invite you, especially if you're watching this from YouTube, come and join us. If you have a Facebook account, come and join us in the Sidereal Insights Astrology community on Facebook. We oftentimes go live in there, and it's kind of a fun little community. But be sure to join me there, and I'm going to check here in the comments, see if we have any new stuff to share before we wrap up this live stream. And I want to thank all of you so much for joining me. I want to encourage you to have faith and be strong and hang in there as we go through this tumultuous and uncertain time. We really are leveling up as a collective right now in the experiences that we're going through, and it sounds like we could be going through this for several months, if not longer, as we wait to learn what this virus is all about and how it behaves, and understand what we need to do to protect and save and heal as many of us as possible. In some ways it's kind of scary, right, and fear-inducing, and in some ways it's kind of exciting given how much we know about the contribution that viruses have to the evolution of other life forms on this planet. I think this is a profound moment for the human race in terms of setting us up for the next stage of our own evolution on a very widespread basis. And in that way, it gives me hope. And I have tremendous hope for the future, and that we will pull through this as a collective. And I know that those whom we lose as we go through this, because I don't think there will be a human being alive who remains untouched by what we're experiencing right now in the world. in some way once it's all over. I think that those whom we lose during this crisis would not want us to lose ourselves in grief, so much so that we don't live life. And so please have hope, please have faith, and hang in there. And let's just all be there for each other as much as we can with the great distances between us that there are right now. And thank you all so much for joining me. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.